Hi, Growing Together friends. I'm Pastor Karen, and I'm really glad to join you today. This week, we're studying about King David in 2 Samuel 5. Now, we've been learning about how God chose David to be king and how Samuel found David and anointed him to be king. But both David and Samuel faced several obstacles along the way. And at some point, I imagine both of these men wondered how God's plan would unfold. You've probably faced some big obstacles in your life too. Or maybe it wasn't a big obstacle, but you felt trapped or felt afraid, or, faced something impossible or something that seemed impossible to do. Maybe you moved to a new town or a new school or had to make a new friend, or perhaps you had a really hard project in school that seemed impossible to complete. Sometimes when we come up against these great big obstacles and impossible tasks, we wonder if God is really listening. And we might even doubt if God will be able to help us. When I was younger, one thing I loved to do was ride dirt bikes. And when I got my first paycheck from my very first job, after college, I bought a motorcycle. A lot like this, but a lot bigger and a lot heavier. In fact, it was about 300 pounds. It was easy to handle though, except when I had to slow down or stop. I had to be really careful to stop on a flat surface without any gravel, so I had really good grip with my tires and with my shoes. Well, one day as I left the house and pulled carefully to the end of the driveway, I didn't realize that the big rainstorm had washed a lot of dirt and gravel onto the driveway, and our driveway was on a little bit of a slope. So when I came to the end of the driveway and slowed to turn, my tires were not on solid ground like they usually are. They were slippery gravel. And before I knew what had happened, the bike had slipped on the gravel and fallen right over. It landed on my leg, and I tried to pull my leg out from under it, but it was stuck. And I tried to lift up the motorcycle, but it was too heavy, and I was trapped. Well, what do we do when we are trapped and afraid? Of course, I yelled for help. I wondered how I was ever going to get free. I didn't know if anyone was listening or if anyone could hear me. But I knew the words of Psalm 37:5, depend on the Lord, trust God, and God will take care of you. And all I could do was pray, dear God, help. And then I heard footsteps coming. It was my big brother, and somehow, even though he was inside the house, down in the basement, and far, far away, he had heard me calling for help. He's older and stronger, and he lifts weights for fun. And he came up to the motorcycle, and he bent down, and he lifted the bike off my leg. And it felt so good to be free. We can rely on God to hear us when we call and help us when we need it. We can trust God even when things are out of our control and when great big problems block our way too. Today, we'll see in our Bible lesson how God helped David become king with so many obstacles in the way. And we'll learn how he trusted God even when things seemed impossible. So, here's a few questions to get you thinking for today. Think of a time when you faced a big obstacle or something impossible. How did you feel? And what did you do? What are some words or a Bible verse that you can remember to help you overcome your fear or face a great big obstacle? And finally, who in your life makes you feel safe? If you're facing a tough time or a great big obstacle, talk about it with a grown-up that you trust. You don't have to face these obstacles alone. Remember, God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in trouble.